Zac Carr. I'm a manager here at McBride, and I've been here for a little more than 3 years. So to position ourselves effectively as a small business in the industry, McBride has really taken an approach of trying to bring in some of the best elements of a small business and some of the best elements of a large business. So some businesses will go out and they'll look to be either highly specialized. They'll be an engineering firm, or they'll deal with just accounting or risk management, something specific. Some of them will go out there and they'll try and be the low-cost leader, and they'll try and bring in, the cheapest price point you can possibly get. McBride doesn't really do that. McBride takes a different approach, where we bring in the cost structure and the value that you get from a small business, but we also bring in Big Four level talent. And so we've taken the approach of Big Four level talent at small business prices and with a lot of the advantages of a small business. So McBride's culture is what I would describe as a mix of professional and open. And so professional in the sense that professionalism is one of the highest values that we have here at McBride. We're always looking to be professional, to show up professionally, to add value to the customer, and really make sure that the customer comes first. But at the same time, we're also open in that managers are accessible, the CEO is accessible. You can go into the CEO's office and you can ask him about the business. You can ask him about how his weekend was. He'll ask you how your vacation was. So we combine that delivery for the client, that professionalism, the trust that employees are going to be driven and high performing and want to add value to the client, with open communication, with approachability, and with a sense that everyone should be contributing. And that leads to a couple great things. One of them is that you'll also get the chance to work on a lot of other projects at McBride. Some companies are very siloed, and you stick to your area, you stick to your silo. But at McBride, you have the chance to work on proposals, on special projects, on thought leadership, and it really just adds a variety to the business that you don't get at every firm. So identifying strengths for McBride and leveraging them to compete is going back to that conversation around the value proposition we bring. And so if you're able to show up like a small business, so you have good prices, you are flexible, you're agile, you bring a lot of those benefits to the market, but you also are reliable, dependable, have top talent, and really have a strong drive to add value as opposed to just a lower price point, you're going to be able to really outwork a lot of competitors. And definitely outwork is the right way to think about it, is because it doesn't just mean that you work in the most obvious ways that, okay, we're going to put in more hours and we're going to, put out more proposals and we're going to have more billable hours. It also means that you have to outthink the competition in terms of how you position yourself in the market, how you show up, and the types of work you're doing that bring that value to the marketplace. So the critical factors in achieving sustainability and growth can be a challenge, right? They're not necessarily hand in hand. Sustainability is all about, how durable is your company, how well do you persevere over the long term. Growth can be a short-term mindset. It's all about getting new work. It's all about servicing new work. But I think there's a few attributes that really link the two together. One of them is being highly customer-centric and customer-driven, is that you have to value your customers, you have to want to build those relationships, you have to see your first priority as customer value and satisfaction. And you also have to see that it's everyone's responsibility in the company to provide that value, but also to grow that business. So having your staff, having your team have ownership over the growth of the business, very important for achieving that sustainability. And then you have to build something with that, right? It's not enough to just win work. You have to bring in the talent to sustain that work. You have to cultivate the mindsets that, encourage people to take ownership over that work. And then you have to build the sort of skill sets and the resources in the company, whether that's technology, whether that's expertise, whether that's a track record, and certainly your reputation as a firm is very important in that as well. So using metrics and indicators is very important. Now, of course, if you track everything, you can spend all your time tracking and not doing. But also, if you're not tracking, you're just kind of guessing, and that's not really good either. So I think there's a few basic metrics and indicators that are really critical to look at. One is the sales pipeline. Of course, it's a reason that it's one of the more basic and common indicators for a company. It's how much work is there in the marketplace? What are you going after in the marketplace? What are your likely probabilities of winning that work, and how much revenue do you expect that to bring in? And then you also have to have sort of a people pipeline. You have to look at, are we bringing in the talent to service the work we have? Because contracting and consulting, it's a people business. The people, the staff, are the ones that do the work that provide the value. So there's a couple basic metrics that you can measure more precisely that are very important. But then there's also factors that are a little harder to measure, and that's things like your reputation. How are you regarded in the market against your peers? How diversified is your customer base and the products that you offer? How are you building your capabilities and your technology as a firm? And those are also really important indicators that, although harder to track, are really important to have a pulse on in the marketplace. The way I see McBride evolving over the next 5 to 10 years, I can take a stab at that. 10 years is a long time in the business world. 5 years is a long time in the business world. Think about a company in 2019 looking 5 years ahead to 2024. No one would have predicted the challenges that a company had to deal with in those 5 years. But I think if I had to take a guess, a prediction at where McBride will be, I would say that McBride's seen a lot of really strong growth in multiple markets, especially international and federal space. And I think the company's really poised to continue that growth and build upon that growth and success. So I think that growing in those markets is definitely a continued trend we'll see. At the same time, we've also maintained a very strong state and local presence in multiple state and local markets. I lead the Mid-Atlantic state and local markets. I certainly plan to see those accounts grow, to nurture those relationships, to build new relationships, to find new partners, and see that success continue. Now, of course, with that, we're also going to see all the challenges that come with growth, the challenges and the opportunities that come with growth. We're going to have to build new management structures, new administrative support structures, bring on new technology, bring new people into the company. But I think all of that really, in balance, is more of an opportunity than a problem.